Hey everyone, it's RemanX here with a final verdict on the Pimtech squad. And if you guys don't know, I made this a labor of love to determine if they were worth the investment. And you could see that I've emptied my wallet, probably emptied a little bit of my soul, and got them up to a reasonable level. I know it looks a little bit crazy, and with one real final verdict. Ghost is amazing. Now, you guys may ask, well, what about the rest of the team? Well, I tried really hard to justify him, but it's now that we're able to see what Fate's Fury was able to do in Dark Dimension 4, I understand what the design of this team was supposed to do, but they kind of fall short in the execution. We're going to go over that. We're going to talk about all the different things, my recommendations on ISOs, where I think they can work in on war, and more importantly, answer that final question. Will they unlock the next legendary? Well, sort of. But stay tuned. So, realistically, guys, we can talk about this team. And so, I think we're in a little bit of a hangover from Symbiotes. And Symbiotes were probably one of the best teams this game has ever seen. They were groundbreaking, and they were used in multiple modes, and they were just anchored by an amazing character in Symbiote Spider-Man. So the fact that they had a raid usage, and the fact that they were just the Dark Dimension solution for Dark Dimension 3, and you could kind of plug and play as you went, was really important. So adding Scream and adding Anti-Venom made them exceptionally better, to the point where they can pretty much beat everything in the game. They really are probably one of the apex teams in the game when you put them next to Black Order. They're very similar in what they can accomplish. And in raids, a high-level symbiote will allow you to auto the current raids we have. So the concern we have going forward is, are they worth building up to do anything else? So I'm going to tell you guys right now, no. And it's disappointing to me because I tried to showcase them on U7.5, and I'll probably try to insert some footage at the end so you guys can watch kind of their performance here. But they definitely were not able to overcome some of the obstacles. Now, again, that was designed for Phoenix. It wasn't designed for them, and we could see how when you're looking at what's happening in DD4, they were definitely designed as a DD4 solution. But it is evident that other characters have completely taken over because of the fact that you have so much reliance on four tech characters, which means if you use these four, you won't be able to use tech reasonably if you want to get in there at a reasonable pace in a Dark Dimension 4. Now, that being said, if you're going to slow roll and want an easy path, these guys are definitely the team that was designed to beat the first three and global nodes of Dark Dimension 4. And let me explain. Dark Dimension 4 is different in Dark Dimension 3. It isn't just about overcoming damage and just throttling through. It is about control. And this team is second to none in that category. And in that way, I actually love them. Because they allow the operator, the player, to do so much in the way of control, from the rewind of Ghost to the assists from Ant-Man, the ability block, the slows, and then the stuns from Wasp. This team has a ton of control. They also have a ton of damage. And you say, but how? Well, Yellow Jacket's ult is devastating. His special with the percent drain, the bigger the target, the harder they fall. And that is legitimately what we're seeing from this team. So when we get into it, when the full team takes the field, they are exceptional. Now, here's the problem. I can't justify recommending for you guys to take these guys to G14 to beat some of the teams that they can potentially beat. And we'll talk about that right now. So let's talk about their function in war. Okay? Because this will be a good analysis point So we put them on defense, and they were just getting rolled over 110k punch-ups. They just weren't able to execute very well. They have some vulnerabilities from the buffs they have, from the ability for Supernatural to already be in the game and control them. So from that aspect, I wonder if they were supposed to come out in a time past and just kind of have outlived their usefulness. So on defense, I haven't been that fond of them because they take up a slot and they're not pulling one of the meta teams out of there that you need to draw, like X-Men, X-Force, Black Order. If that's a defensive, for me, that's the defensive teams that I think are exceptional, is when they're pulling that, or BH 2.0, right? We'll even throw that in there. If a war defense has value, they have to double up on making your opponent think that that's the only way to solve the problem. Now, well, we've seen footage, and I've actually been able to replicate it of these guys beating Marauders. Now, we're going to talk about the caveat to that. So the problem with that is a team like this beating Marauders, they actually become more and more deadly as you get them into the position where they can beat higher level Marauders, because their damage outscales their ability to survive. They're relatively low hit points outside of the Dark Dimension. They don't get any buffs. So what was happening was, if the wrong character was targeted on my team, it could be devastating. So that's when we look at war counters, I try to find ones that have a better than a 20% chance to fail. So that means if one character gets targeted by an early mind control and the team wipes, I don't like to recommend that. I'm trying to find teams that win at higher than that rate, just to make sure that you guys can do those early clears as you start going from gold 3 to gold 4 to platinum 1. Those are the transition elements that I'm learning about. Just trying to sharpen teams and win percentages is really all it's about as you build up your war roster. Now, they beat Asgard. Well, congratulations. It's the end of 2020. I'm pretty sure I can have a hodgepodge with Yondu and Ultron that can beat some Asgard teams. But that being said, if it beats Asgard and it frees up another team, very good for you. Now, very specific set of actions are required. Element of Ruin isn't as terrible, but they can beat Asgard. They can beat teams that have a summon or a clone. And so the reason why is because Yellow Jacket can kill that character, provide extra buffs for the team, and then he is just devastating when he gets that kill. So you basically get double damage on those targets. It also depends on the size of your Yellow Jacket at that point in time. And Yellow Jacket may find a home on a tech villain squad that features characters like, well, I don't know, some tech villains. Minerva, Ultron might become part of a squad like that. That's flex. However, as a hybrid, if you threw Zemo and that's the only character you have, throw Zemo, Ghost, Stature, okay, and then ideally Ant-Man and or Yellow Jacket, and they become phenomenal. They become phenomenal. All the windows of opportunity, they can beat pretty much everything in the game, maybe even some of the bigger squads, and we'll try to showcase that going down the road as we do some more experiments. I'm getting more footage for you guys as we go. But adding Zemo to this team, because of the way that he works with Ghost or some other control elements, they became phenomenal. Now, that being said, Zemo isn't currently farmable. Having him at a high enough level to match these guys isn't what everybody has. And again, I don't recommend bringing this team up. They just don't do enough for you right now. And I think, with as you guys, like I said, if you guys are doing Dark Dimension 3 right now, you're a better position to consider some other teams for this. So, overall analysis, we'll do the ISOs now. So I've tested out ISOs on the characters. We were actually able to test out level 3s. I thought about her as a level 5 fortifier. And the reason why we thought about her as fortifier was because of the fact that she doesn't have a lot of hit points, so being able to take some damage as a result. And she does get sped up enough through the action of when one of her allies gets below 50%. So it is an interesting ability. Think of a mini Thanos in that regard, that she gets speed gain. So she could be getting the fortifier bonus very often. However, What I was finding, especially in Dark Dimension, which is where I was using her, I needed her to mark targets. So I needed her as a skirmisher to help mark or dispel. So the fact that the skirmisher has the extra dispel, I was using her more towards that, and all of her abilities interact with the enemy team, so we went towards that way. We'll talk about this. So I think 100% we want Yellowjack and Ant-Man as skirmishers to get the striker combos, because of the fact that Ghost is probably top 3, if not number 1 striker in the game. That 50% consistent rewind when she strikes is definitely worthwhile. So what do we do with Wasp? Well, Wasp is someone through Raider, and we didn't bring her all the way up because we just weren't in love with this team, period. But however, if her critting will potentially allow you to shift stature to Fortifier, the only drawback is some of our early testing through DD3, and again, that is not where they're built to win, in my opinion. What was happening was when I had her at Fortifier, she wasn't dropping taunt enough to set it to Ant-Man, and so it just may be a function of stars and damage. So this will help mark multiple targets. More importantly, she does decent amount of damage, but you know, she is the least important of the team, with the exception of her stun, and that's really what she's there to do, is provide her stun. So overall, lackluster except for the mode they're designed. However, it would be difficult, now that we've broken down the actual cost of Dark Dimension 4, to recommend this team. And then now we'll answer the question that everybody's been waiting for. Are they the next legendary unlock? And here's what my thoughts are. They might be. They feel like Sinister 6 2.0. And what you guys don't know, you guys may not remember, is Sinister 6 came out and the team felt a little lackluster, a little bit out of time, a little bit like they were inside of, well, I don't know, X-Men and Fantastic Four. And so in between that, they were just probably not well received. And when it wasn't well received, we know that means they weren't purchased very well. So somebody back in the finance department probably took a look at that and said, this is going to be our next legendary unlock. We'll get people to buy these characters. Well, that's what it feels like. Not to mention, we have the old blueprint of 2 in the game, 3 coming in new, and that's been consistent for the last couple of legendaries when we think about Black Bolt, Doc Ock, and even Maw to a certain extent, although he was unlocked behind a legendary. So, there is the potential that this team is there, but there are no guarantees. It just feels awfully familiar. But I'll tell you right now, I would never tell you to buy a team for the thoughts that they might be required for a legendary. I have a feeling we'll be finding out a lot more in the days to come. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. For me, get Ghost. Ghost is the key to Dark Dimension 4. Probably a super big priority in Dark Dimension 3. May replace Colossus, because you got to start thinking about Dark Dimension 3 and 4 characters. And we're going to be updating that list down the road. Remember, I do things so you guys don't have to. And we'll take a look at the end over here. I should have some extra footage of them in Dark Dimension 3, and we'll take a look at what they do. So, thanks again. Until next time, don't make the mistakes I do. Love you much.